Hey, welcome to Blue Jay Banner on this somewhat cloudy and warm Monday before a big storm hits tomorrow. Hope everybody's ready for a little more snow. I'm Tim Kruger, Blue Jay Banner. Welcome to the show. Thanks for watching on YouTube. If you can hit that subscribe button, it helps us out a ton. And check out all our other content there as well, especially some of our post game shows. If you missed those the last couple of weeks, uh, please check those out. There's a lot of good info, a lot of good interviews from our last home games as well. Tonight, we're just going to kind of dig into the spring sports, get caught up there. Great start for both the baseball and softball teams, so we'll check that out. Then we'll dig into the women's season ending up, the regular season ending up, look ahead to the postseason tournament. We'll talk a little bit about the post game shows we're going to do after the women's tournament. And of course, got kind of a little bit of a conflict there, but we'll make it work. And then we'll jump back into the men's team, set you up for tomorrow night's game against Seton Hall, take a look at the Big East standings and kind of explain what the scenarios are for Creighton. And they're looking pretty good right now. So if we can take care of business on the next two games, we should be in great shape. I want to thank all of our sponsors, West Pacific Dental Group, Infusion Brewing Company, and BlueJayBanner.com. I just want to talk a minute about BlueJayBanner.com. It's the most active message board in the Creighton community. You'll enjoy it a ton. You get to interact with all your other Jays fans on all kinds of topics. We have game threads and so forth. Besides that, get inside info on recruiting, transfer portal when that comes around. And most importantly, you get practice reports about once a week. So check all that out at bluejaybanner.com. I think you'll be really glad you did. Tons of features and tons of great content coming from the Rivals Network as well. We're going to jump right into the softball. The Jays go 2-2 over the weekend. They had won 5 out of 6 at one point, but the last two to University of California, Santa Barbara, and UNLV. The Jays played in a tournament out at UC Santa Barbara. I hope many of you have gotten a chance to go to that campus. I have. Don't know how anybody goes to school there, frankly. It's right on the ocean. It's just absolutely stunningly beautiful. Jays are now 9-6, so off to a great start this year. And now comes the conference season. They go to Providence next week for 3 games, and then the following Tuesday, so March 11th, they will have their first home game against Drake. So good luck to the Jays as they head into the Big East Conference season in softball. Baseball team, what a weekend. We had a service on the show last week. We talked to Ed about the upcoming series with College of Charleston, and he said, "Hey, this is a huge series. A lot of eyes going to be on this series, and let's hope there were because the Jays got blown out in the middle game, but won the other two, 8-4, 8-6. So Jays take 2 out of 3. They're 5-4 on the season. They've got some outstanding performances going right now. Nolan Sailors, we all knew he was going to just come back and have another terrific year. He's off to a great start with 16 hits. He's hitting 421 on the season. And the pitching side, Wilson Magers has been great freshman addition. He's already 2-1, and the Jays really have a really solid closer this year. Excuse me, in Garrett Langwell, who's had 3 saves already this season. So he just comes in and shuts the door. So great start for the baseball team. The Jays go to Kansas State on Wednesday. I don't know what down in Manhattan what the weather forecast will be, but it could be a little sketchy. So I don't know if that game is going to be played or not. And then talk about sketchy. Next Friday, they open their home season against UC Davis, the University of California, Davis. Games are Friday at 6 p.m., Saturday and Sunday during the day. Now, Friday looks a little iffy. They're calling for some snow, maybe some rain. So if that one gets canceled, I'm sure they'll push that into a doubleheader on Saturday. They could start a little bit later if the weather's a little bit iffy, but Saturday is supposed to be 48, Sunday 54. So they'll, as long as the snow that we're supposed to get tomorrow melts, and it seems like the temperature range looks like it might, and especially the fact that there's going to be some 40s, upper 40s here throughout the week, and we don't get a very much accumulation that Friday. I think they might be able to get these games in. Just depends on the condition of the field, and this time of year, moisture doesn't go down as well. So it'll just depend on if the field's muddy or not. But they're certainly going to give it a shot. So check gocreighton.com for any updates on the schedule with those games, and always on Blue Jay Banner on Twitter. But great start, and look forward to a really exciting baseball season. I'm really excited about this team. This team's got some pop to it, along with a really nice young pitching staff. So let's talk a little bit about Infusion Brewing Company. I hope you were all able to attend our event about a week and a half ago at Infusion. Great crowd considering how cold the weather was. We had an awesome time. Morgan Malley, Lauren Jensen, and Isaac Trout were all there from the women's and men's teams. We had Coach Flan there as well as Mitch Ballack. And we had giveaways. We had just tons of stuff going on. So the players took pictures, signed autographs. It was a fabulous event. And it was co-sponsored by RTI Threads, who has terrific merchandise. Go check them out online. And they were extremely happy with the business that they did that night, and so was Infusion. So I can only guess that we're going to have more of these events. Don't know when the next one will be, but we'll have to try and figure that out. And hopefully we can get there sometime when it has nice weather, when we'd be outside as well. So Infusion is obviously the brewer of Let It Fly beer, which you can get at the Let It Fly Sports Bar, where we do all our post-game shows in the podcast studio there. And as well as some great craft beers and lagers. So check them out. That's Infusion Brewing Company right here in Omaha. Well, the women really closed it out in style yesterday, winning at home on senior day, 70-55. The last time you'll see some of these seniors, the tremendous senior class here in Omaha playing at Solco Arena. Morgan Malley had 23 points, but the big news, she went over 2,000 points for her fabulous career. Just an incredible feat. And what a great career as it continues on, obviously, in the postseason. The Jays are 24-5, so without a doubt, the best Creighton basketball team we've seen here in a long time. They're now up to 23 in the country. They're 22 last week. They were 23 despite the loss to UConn. Just think if we didn't have UConn in this league, we'd be probably 26-5, right? But now it's time for the postseason. So the Big East Women's Basketball Tournament is at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, and it kicks off on Saturday. The Jays will play at 6 p.m. Central Time on Saturday against either Georgetown or Providence. Now, I would most likely think the last time we played Providence, they gave us quite a battle. They have some pieces. They have a big center that's hard for us to match up with. So I would think that we would probably be a little more likely to want to see Georgetown than Providence. We'll see what happens. But that game will be at 6 p.m. So it's so unfortunate because it overlaps with the men's game. That's men's game, final game, home game of the season that starts at 5. So the men's game will start at 5. The women's game will start around 6. Maybe that first game goes, no, it's the opening of the second session. So it'll start right on time. So, hey, watch the men's game, then get out to one of the fabulous places in town, especially like Let It Fly, where they'll have a game on. Watch the second half of the women's game and cheer on the Jays to get off to a great start in the women's tournament. Now, one thing that we brought up last week was that we are going to do post games for every Creighton women's game this year. Post game shows for the postseason, every postseason game. Little we know the game, when we got the screaming going, little we know that the men's game would be at 5 p.m., which is a strange time for the last game. And then just so happened the way the things fell that the women's game would be at 6. We kind of knew that was already in place, but we thought the men's game would be much earlier. So we're still going to try and get everything arranged with Glenn Sisk, assistant SID at Creighton, and Coach Flan, who will be on our post-game shows. We'll just have to kind of see how the schedule worked out. We're hoping to still go through with that on day one. So what we'll do is the men's game will get over. We'll go back. We'll get set up for the post game. Now, unfortunately, it's senior day, so usually those post games for the men start later. So we're still going to try and make it work out. do the men's post game, and if I have to do the women's post game right there from Let It Fly, great. Otherwise, I'll head back to my house and do it from there. But we just depends on the schedule that Plan's going to have that night. So if he can carve out some time, we'll probably chances are we'll probably do this on a tape basis where we'll tape the show and then put it up on YouTube. If we can do it live, absolutely we will. But at any rate, we'll have that one. Then the next one is on Sunday. The next game we'd play would be on Sunday. That game would tip, I believe, at 4 or 5 Central. So I have mock selection this weekend, but that shouldn't be a problem. I should be done with that in time to do the post game. So we'll definitely have post games. And then the final, if the Jays should make it that far, most likely against UConn, would be on Monday. So the semifinals, by the way, are on Big Fox. So there we go. And their first game is on FS2. So check that out as well. So Jays 23rd in the country. Let's get it going. And of course, obviously, are going to be a selection for the NCAA tournament, which should start the following week. All right. The men kick off tomorrow night against Seton Hall at 6 o'clock Central. That's on FS1. Unfortunately, my Donnie Marshall's on the call, which my least favorite basketball commentator. So everybody bear with it. So big game for the Jays, a must win. They had a tough go of it Saturday. And again, some people are like, well, here we go. We're fading down the stretch. This isn't good for postseason. Number one, there is no bearing how teams play at the end of the season and in the postseason. Zero. That's why the NCAA committee doesn't do the last 10 how you did in the last 10 anymore. Number two, Xavier's an awfully good basketball team. And had they not had their stumbles and we're still trying to get their chemistry together after they had some injuries again at the first part of the year, they were still trying to get their chemistry. So if they wouldn't have had such a brutal schedule to start out the Big East, I think you'd see this team at the top of the league, right there with Creighton and St. John's. So this is a really good basketball team, and I just really hope their resume is a little light on big time wins. So I'm not sure. They're right on the edge. They've got to keep winning, obviously. They've got to win these next two. Then they've got to make, it would really help them. They play a 4-5 game. They probably are going to play either Marquette or UConn in that 4-5 game. It would really, 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 really help their cause to win that game. Even though, like we know, committees don't put a ton of weight on these conference tournaments. It's just one game out of 30. But that would be huge for Xavier. Big time. And then, my goodness, the next night they can go on and beat St. John's. Well, then, I don't know how you keep them out, because this is eye test wise, you would put this team in a heartbeat. This team's way better than a lot of the teams that are on the bubble right now. So, and I'm sure it's a team that other Big East teams don't want to play, top teams in Madison Square Garden. So, don't be too overly upset with that loss. Obviously we want to win them all, but it's not possible. So let's get the Seton Hall game. It's a place where we played fairly well over the years. I feel good about this game, but they played really good at home. They've given some teams some battles. They gave St. John's a battle actually at Madison Square Garden on Saturday. Saturday, yeah. So let's get this done. 6 o'clock. Come on down, Let It Fly. Watch a game with all of us down there. We'll have a good crowd, I'm sure, watching this game, and we'll talk about what this game means, the following game, to the Jays postseason, to the Big East tournament, and everything like that in just a minute. But first, I just want to talk about West Pacific Dental Group and Dr. Robert Hogan. I was just there this week, and what a fabulous crew they have. Staff is outstanding. They're looking out for all your dental needs. They give you the options. They don't say, hey, you have to do this. They say, here's your options. You can do this, or you can do this, or you can do this. That's what I really like about them. They analyze all your dental needs, and then they listen to you like, hey, how about this type of treatment? Or what if I did this? And they're very easy to talk to and always have a great plan in place for your dental needs. So check them out today. That's West Pacific Dental Group. And the phone number is 402-697-0765. That's 402-697-0765. 5. Okay, first thing we're going to do here, we're going to do a couple things here before we wrap it up. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go up and we're going to take a look at the Big East standings. And I think if you take a look at these, I think you'll see what I'm talking about as far as um, what's going on with the Big East right now. It's just pulled up here. Give me a second. All righty. All right. I hope everybody can see that. So right now, St. John's, they've won the Big East title for the year, 17-2. Then we have a tie for second between Marquette and Creighton. As you know, we split the games with Marquette, and we'll get to the tiebreakers in a minute. Then comes UConn at 12-6, Xavier's 11-7, Villanova 11-8, and then there's a gap. So Georgetown right now, that 7th seed overall, which would be figure into what maybe will happen with Creighton. That 7th seed overall is kind of up for grabs between Georgetown, Butler, and Providence. Seton Hall, DePaul are battling for the last spot. Georgetown, Butler, and Providence will be the 7. Now, I think if it stays the way it is, those two teams are 2-16. If they, let's say, both win out, both lose out, both split, however it is. Seton Hall would win the tiebreaker. So DePaul would be in last place. They would play the 6th-seeded team. And Seton Hall would be the 10th team, and they would play number 7. Right now, as it sits, it looks like Georgetown would be the 7th seed. But as you can see, Providence, Butler, and Georgetown all have games to play yet. So a lot can change here over the course of these next 2 games. And it could be a real battle going down the stretch with these games. We're going to take a look at what we got if any of these teams match up. So we've got Villanova and Georgetown at Georgetown. That's tomorrow night as well. So that's a huge game. That would wrap up the season for Villanova. So that would be their last conference game. Then on Wednesday, you have DePaul at Providence. That could switch things around for DePaul, obviously. And Xavier at Butler. So a huge game for Xavier to hang on to 5th place. And then the big one is Marquette at UConn tomorrow on Wednesday night, excuse me. So we'll talk a minute about what's going to happen with that game as well. And then Saturday, we have 5 games. Georgetown, DePaul play. There again, DePaul could win these last 2. It's very possible. Seton Hall goes to UConn. I don't put a lot of hope in Seton Hall. So Seton Hall is going to have to hope. If Creighton beats Seton Hall, they play Creighton and UConn in that last 2 games. They've got to hope that DePaul loses both games, and then they will get 10th. Providence and Xavier. So that could be a battle, for one of those 6, 7, 8 seeds in there. But right now, as we sit, and then St. John's is at Marquette. So I don't know. I would think St. John's would still have a lot to play for, obviously, because they're a protected seed right now, one of the top 4 seeds in the NCAA tournament. So I'm sure they would, they're not like they're going to lay down because they have nothing to play for. So right now, as it sits, it's this way. So let's just talk about Creighton. Creighton is assured, assured of being at least the 3 seed. Why is this important? Well, number one, it's going to make sure that they don't play St. John's until the final. That's number one. Number two, you kind of stay away from the red hot team too, for the most part. I don't think there's a way Xavier could climb up to, let's say, a 2 seed. So you would stay away from Xavier, the red hot Xavier team right now too. So the reason why Creighton's assured a 3 seed is because they own tiebreakers. If it stays the way it is, and it's Marquette and Creighton tied right now, and it kind of depends a lot on those last two games that Marquette plays because they play UConn and they play St. John's. So it kind of depends on that. But if it stays the way it is right now, let's say Marquette wins both those games and Creighton wins both those games, both their games. Then it would come down to tiebreaker, and you just go down the list until you find an advantage. So they would have both been swept by St. John's. They split their series. They both would have split the series against UConn. Then it gets to Xavier. They both would have split the series against Xavier. Then it gets to Villanova, where Marquette lost to Villanova. Creighton swept Villanova. So Creighton would gain the advantage there. That would move the Jays to the number 2 seed. So if the Jays win out, they're number 2. If, for instance, uh, we have a three-way tie, which could very easily happen with if UConn beats Marquette and then Marquette beats St. John's. Okay, so follow that. UConn beats Marquette and Marquette beats St. John's, and Creighton say loses tomorrow night. Let's just throw that out there. Okay, that would be a three-way tie. UConn would get the advantage over those three teams because they would have swept Marquette 3 times. Or 3 times. They would have swept Marquette. Creighton obviously split with UConn and Marquette. So UConn would get to number 2, and then it would come to a tie with Marquette Creighton. And again, we would go through the process like we just did. And in that scenario, I take that back. I take this back. In that scenario, that's the only scenario work. I take this back about Creighton being a 3 seed. In that scenario, Creighton would be a 4 seed because the first thing you would do is go to this. No, take it back. We split with St. John's. Never mind. I had it right the first time. Gee whiz. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. No. So yeah, we split with St. John's, and there again it would go back to the Marquette Creighton tiebreaker, which Creighton wins. So Creighton takes care of business. They're the 2 seed. Done. Xavier really has to win 2 games here because they split with Villanova. So then that would go down the road like who has the advantage there. And I think Villanova would have the advantage because I think they beat St. John's. So Villanova would then, if Villanova and Xavier tie, Villanova would have the advantage because Villanova, lost at St. John's, but they beat St. John's at home. And they did split with Xavier. So, yes, Villanova would then be the number 5. And they would play UConn or Marquette in the first game, Madison Square Garden, the 4-5 game. And then Xavier would drop to 6. And then, there's no chance for Georgetown to move up any higher than 7th or any of the teams below them. So Xavier and Villanova right now are battling for 5th and 6th place. So then Xavier would be 6, and they would play the bottom team. We said looks kind of likely that it could be DePaul in that scenario. DePaul or Seton Hall, 1 or 2, and then they would play the 3rd place team, which would be again either Marquette or UConn, or the winner of the Marquette Villanova or UConn Villanova game. So those are kind of the things, and I like Creighton's path here, especially for a 2 seed, because again, we would play Georgetown, Butler, or Providence in that first game. Would like to play Georgetown again. I think they shot the ball exceptionally well tonight. They played us. We were off that whole week. It was a Sunday game. So I like our chances there. Love our chances against Butler. Providence can sometimes cause some issues because they have a big that can kind of play with us a little bit. They got some guards who can shoot. Now, they haven't shot the ball very well at all. I would prefer Georgia, and I would hope the standings stay as they are, and we would play Georgetown in that first game, and then we would play, who knows, either winner of that. Let's just say the way it is now, it would be Marquette. Okay, well, Marquette has to play the 6th seed, so that could be Xavier. We said if they end up tie, Georgia or Villanova gets the tiebreaker. So that's play Xavier. That's a tough game. And then we would play Xavier. That would be their third game in 3 nights, which would be an advantage to us. So let's just see what happens. But I'm just playing this out. That 4-5 winner is going to be a really good team that's going to play St. John's. I know they're playing in the Garden, but that's still going to be a really good team. I just like our chances here. I like our chances in the Big East tournament if we just take care of these 2 games right now. If we get tomorrow night, I'm very positive, feeling very good about Saturday's game against Butler. So that would wrap up second place for us. And like I've said many times, that's one hell of an accomplishment for Coach Greg McDermott this year. That's probably his best coaching job ever. So now we want to talk a little bracketology. I've got the Jays today at an 8 seed. They're about 31 on the seed list, which means they're 1 ahead of UConn. It's very close between UConn and Creighton, but they're 1 ahead of UConn. Winning these 2 games this week's not going to push them much. The problem is there's so many teams in and around the spot they are now. It's hard. It's really hard for the Jays to move up. I mean, you've got teams like BYU, Mississippi State, Memphis, Louisville, Illinois, UCLA. Those teams all have better, more high-quality wins than Creighton does. So that's the problem there. Now, metric-wise, they can edge out some teams. They could edge out a BYU. They could edge out a Memphis, maybe even a Louisville. So outside chance. If they win the Big East tournament, I think there would then be a discussion, although we know, again, the committee does not necessarily jump all over 3 games in 3 days to move you up. But I do think there would be a real possibility to hit that 7 line, especially if we beat, if we go through forget Georgetown, but we go through Marquette and St. John's or Marquette UConn or Marquette Xavier. That's going to put a lot of weight on that. So that would be an excellent move for us. So we could get to 7. I don't see us getting much beyond that. It just depends on where the committee has us now, and if they have us a 7, then we might be okay. But we'd really like to get out of that 8 game, obviously, because right now I've got us playing in the Alabama region. So if we won the 8-9 game, then we would play Alabama right away. Hey, we played them tough the first time, so it'd be an interesting game the second time, and that was obviously one of the first games back without Pop. So it would be very interesting to play Alabama again. But they are a terrific basketball team. That game, that pod we'd be in right now, we have us in Lexington. Not the worst travel in the world. Another pod we could possibly be in would be Auburn. There are 2 in Lexington, but man, I'm not sure you want to play Auburn. But maybe that's a matchup that's good for us. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think they're a good matchup for anybody right now, but that's beside the point. Now, one final word. We do have, if any of you people are familiar with our thing that I'm a part of with bracketology, it's called Banner Brackets. We bring together some of the best bracketologists in the country. And last year, they all came into Omaha. We did it at the podcast studio at Let It Fly. This year, we're all going to do it remotely again because of some things going on with different members of the committee. So we're all going to do it remotely. I'm just going to be a moderator. I'm not actually a part of the committee, but I'm going to be there running things. We've got 6 terrific guys. You'll know their names when you say them. And once again, we're going to go through the field. And that starts Thursday. So Thursday and Friday, it starts at 5 p.m. and it goes probably till 11 at night. Saturday morning, we'll kick off a session about 8, 9 o'clock, and we'll go till noon, 1 o'clock. Then a lot of these guys also do writing. They cover teams. So gives everybody a chance to go cover their specific game, gives me a chance to go cover the Jays. And then we'll rejoin again on Sunday, late morning, and fill out the rest of the bracket, put it into a bracket form, and we'll be done about 5 or 6 o'clock Sunday night. If you're interested, is when Creighton gets to the field, I don't think they're going to get in on the initial ballot when teams when the members put in their top up to top 30 teams. They probably won't get in on that ballot. So if you want to see where Creighton how when they get into the field, not necessarily where they're seated, just into the field, that's going to take place fairly quickly. So that'll be at about 5, 6, 7 ish on that Thursday night, and then their seating will most likely take place either very late Friday night or early Saturday morning. So kind of put that down on your schedule. You'll be able to see all of these. All of these will be archived and on our Banner Brackets YouTube channel. That's Banner, Banner Brackets. So that'll all be on our YouTube channel. So um, unless you're a total bracket nerd, you're probably not going to watch all the many hours we're going to do, but jump in once in a while. You'll be able to see. Follow us on Twitter at Banner Brackets too. We'll be tweeting out like, "Hey, we're discussing these 4 teams right now." So you'll kind of get a feel for when we're going to be talking about Creighton. Also, some of you Nebraska fans, when you're going to be talking about Nebraska. Some of you fans, Omaha will not be done with their postseason tournament when we finish this on Sunday. Their championship Sunday night. So we will, however, know if they've made it to the finals. If they made it to the finals against St. Thomas, then we know Omaha is in the field. If they're in the finals with somebody else, then it's 50-50. But if they're still alive, they will be our representative from the summit. So it'd be kind of fun to see where Omaha goes. On my bracket today, I had Omaha and Creighton both going to Lexington. So it'd be great that the fans are there, be able to cheer for one another. Okay, that's it. We got a lot going on, as you can tell. We got spring sports in high gear, and then obviously the basketball is really ramping up. Now the women are done till Saturday. Men got tomorrow, and then we've got Saturday again. We got some big East games. We just talked about them tomorrow, and then the big one on Wednesday. So the Marquette UConn game that affects so many things in the standings, and frankly could wrap it up if well, it wouldn't totally wrap it up because we could end up with a 3-way tie. But yeah, there's no way we would wrap up second on Wednesday night, no matter what happened in that game. But we could wrap up. We like I said, we got third wrapped up, so we'd be well on our way. Let's put it that way. We'd be well on our way. If we win tomorrow, we're going to be well on our way to second place finish. So thanks for joining us. Give a shout out to all the great sponsors. When you go in these businesses, make sure you tell them you heard it on Blue Jay Banner, Infusion Brewing Company, and West Pacific Dental Group. Make sure you sign up for bluejaybanner.com. And also, if you're watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. We'll be with you tomorrow night. Won't be very late. Be about an 8:15 start for our post game right after the Jays Seton Hall game. So check it out then and go Jays.